Welcome to 843 TV. I'm your host Lisa Richardson, and today we're coming to you from St. Helena Island at the Penn Center Museum.
And I'm Annalisa Itcore. Today we're welcoming three wonderful guests. First, we have Michael Webb. He's the Director of Arts, History, and Culture here at Penn Center.
Next joining us is Marie Gibbs. She is a volunteer here at the Penn Center.
And our last guest is Dr. Tanya Allen Jenkins. She's the Director of Education.
So join us for another episode of 843 TV,
where communities come to speak.
843 TV, where Bluffton comes to speak.
Where Spring Island comes to speak.
Where Hilton Head Island comes to speak.
Where Beaufort comes to speak.
TV, where communities come to speak. Welcome to 843 TV. Here we are today on the beautiful St. Helena Island. We are at the Penn Center Museum, and our first guest is Mr. Michael Webb, and he's going to share all about the amazing history we are literally sitting on the grounds of. Michael, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
We're here on this beautiful day, and we are literally sitting on a piece of history.
Yes.
So much to learn about the Penn Center. Give us a little bit about the background.
Wow, well, there's a lot. Well, first of all, I would like to tell you guys, you all are standing on sacred grounds. Penn School was founded in 1862. Year before then, the Union Army comes down this way and they seize the area and they free all the freedmen and women who were on the island here on St. Helena. By the following year in 1862, two women from up north come down and they educate the newly freed men and women of this area. And the locals name it after their home state, being Pennsylvania.
Wow, that's my home state, by the way. Good deal, good deal, awesome. And so there's a lot of years between that. Tell us about, I understand there was an education process that took place and the school was developed. Can you share a little bit about that?
Right, and so when they come down, the first thing they do is they give them common school education, and by the turn of the century, and by 1900, they use the Booker T model, which is industrial education.
So it was a trade that they could apply throughout their lives.
Right, right.
Very cool. Now, you had mentioned, we were chit-chatting a little bit before, and you had mentioned that a lot of those students took that trade education and took it a lot further, and that led to a specific physician actually putting down roots in this area.
Right. Not all of them take on the trade of skilled crafts, but many of them who attend the school, they go on to universities and colleges, and so they become doctors, lawyers, teachers, as well as entrepreneurs. And
we were talking again a little earlier, and this is located on Martin Luther King Drive, and a lot of places are, but this actually has Martin Luther King himself was here. And tell us about that fascinating history.
Right, and so the school flourishes up until 1948 when it had to close its doors. And so from there, it transitions into a community school, community center, correction. And so from there, they play a vital role during the height of the civil rights. Martin Luther King and his SCLC members, they come here and they hold retreats. And so by the early 1960s, Martin Luther King gains a lot of inspiration here on the island because of the rich history here and how the many freedmen and freed women were able to thrive and become successful, that he inspires to write the I Have a Dream speech.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah.
And you had mentioned another important thing that was planned right here on these grounds.
Yes, he planned the March on Washington right here on these grounds right here.
That is incredible.
Wow,
incredible.
That's incredible.
Now, I think we could probably talk for hours just about the history of this location, but I know there's some other things you wanted to cover. So as the director of the Penn Center History, Arts, Culture, what do you have planned for the museum?
Well, one of the many things I have going for the center is our school program. And so one of the many things to spread the word, we have to teach the youth, you know, of the history of the school and how eventually it became a vital role or a vital cog during the height of the civil rights.
Wow.
Yes, and if you don't make that education important, that history can potentially be lost, and that would be. Tell us about the museum that's behind us. What happens in there? What have you got in there?
All right, so for the museum, it's named after a local native islander by the name of Dr. York W. Bailey. He was the first African-American physician here on the island. And so with that being said, we honor him. And so here in the museum, we educate the visitors of the rich history of the Gullah Geechee culture and history, as well as promoting local artists here in the area as well.
I noticed, I must confess, I'm a bit of a shopper. So I noticed as I was walking up the beautiful seagrass baskets, which I know is, goes way, way back into the history. That's just an art that you all have perfected.
Right. And so the origins for the sweetgrass basket making, as well as cast nets, it all goes back to West Africa. Because of the...
I didn't know cast nets. That's really cool.
Yeah, and so because of the enslaved living on the island, they were secluded from the rest of the society, particularly the European society, and so they were able to retain their rich history and culture. And so with that, they bring the sweetgrass basket making as well as cast nets.
Is the museum open to anyone to walk in? Do you need a reservation? What are the hours, that kind of thing?
It's an open door, so
Okay.
everyone is welcome to come. But if you are holding groups or if there are bus tours who would like to make it down this way, always feel free to call us and we can schedule up an appointment.
Great place to take a school group or
Absolutely.
retreat.
Yes, and
Absolutely.
definitely, because like I said before, that's what I'm trying to build up here, as well as an interpretive program. So hopefully within years' time, you'll have people interpreting the story of Laura Town, who was one of the founders, or having Robert Smalls, who was one of the longest standing African-American Reconstruction politicians, who's actually from the area.
Well, Robert Smalls Parkway.
Right, exactly. And the school, there's also
Exactly.
a very
right.
small school.
Exactly.
So, Mr. Michael, tell us about the events and programs that you plan on implementing here at Penn Center. We have a special one that's coming up very soon.
Yes, and so the one we are preparing ourselves for is coming up in November. It's a 3-day event known as Heritage Days celebration, where we highlight the richness of the Gullah Geechee heritage and history, as well as promoting local artists and people who own stores and whatnot, who come every year to sell their merchandise and whatnot.
That'll be cool. And I understand it's a widely attended event, like 10,
Yes.
15,000
Wow.
people
Yes,
come to this.
Yes, we had, I believe, correct, Dr. Gibbs, we had at least 20,000
About 20,000 people
attend the event last year.
yes, last year.
Well, I think we're going to discuss a little bit more
Yeah.
about the upcoming event, as well as some other exciting things here at the Penn Center when we get back with more 843 TV.